Fishing 101. First of all, thank you for having me here. It's always been a pleasure to be over my years of fishing in Southern California to be a part of what's happening from a water quality standpoint. Lake Elsinore being a natural lake is of utmost importance about the water. But the first thing about fishing, get yourself to the water. All of you guys working in water fishing, by show of hands, when's the last time you've been to a body of water in the lake? I mean, in the city. That's sad. That is sad. But anyway, Lake Elsinore. Lake Elsinore does have its challenges. But at the right time of the year, and that time of the year will be any time between February all the way through September into October, you can catch fish in this lake with relatively amount of ease if you know what you're doing. John gave you pretty much 80% of what you need to know when you come to Lake Elsinore. Almost all the fish are caught in 0 to 8 foot of water. So don't go down to the lake and throw out 100 yards. But that's what all of us want to do. Right there at the edge of the shore, all these fish are hanging. Target areas, Launch Point is great. It's probably the most structurous place on the whole lake. You can't see it, but right next to the launch ramp, there's a shoal of rocks, about 150 foot long, underneath the water. But that rock shoal is probably 8 feet off the water. Water's edge. Just make a little cast over that. With my favorite toy, this is my crappie stick. With this rod right here, I target crappie, bluegill, red ear, carp. That little floaty, that's a bobber. Very, very helpful. Notice when you're catching panfish or even bass. This will actually keep your bait from hitting the bottom if you're caught in all the rocks that you're going to be fishing. So when it hits, this bobber will stand up like this. You can either put the jig on this and you kind of work it almost like tick, 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 stop. So the whole time you're doing that, this is what that jig is doing. Tick, 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 tick. It looks like a wounded bait fish down there to the predatory fish. But if you move it like tick, 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 you're basically just flying the bait past that fish. You don't give them time to strike it and bite it. So it's just like a little tick, 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 and stop it. The whole time you stop it, the undercurrent and everything is making that little thing just go around, and fish will just pop it. And when it hits, when it strikes, your bobber will do like this. That's all you're gonna see. Most people, when they fish with bobbers, they want that bobber to just disappear. Most fish with bass, crappie, panfish, all you're gonna see is, and that's them sucking at the jig in its mouth. The minute you see that, just snap on your tip and reel in. The most important thing with any fishing rod is this. That's why you drag. Most of us, when we go to the lake, we pull the rod out of the garage, and we don't even do this. But I can barely pull it. When you get a big fish on that line, he hits it, it's gonna just go snap. So most rods, this little adjustment on the top, just turn it until we can just pull it with your hand, real gently. You won't believe how much pressure that puts on that fish trying to swim away. It's almost like him trying to pull a tennis ball through the water attached to his tail. That's how much putting on you're putting on. And that slows the fish down, that does all the fight for you. So whether you get a small fish or a big fish, you let this do all the work. You basically, you get a strike, pull it in. If he starts pulling line, don't be, oh my God, oh my God, oh my. No, just let him, just let him, and let me laughing because all of us has been in that point. Oh God, I got a good one. And we're reeling like this, and we're reeling like this, and we're reeling like this, and we realize all of a sudden, shh. No, you just put too much pressure on that fish. Line test. I typically, well, Lake Elsinore, when fishing for panfish, 4-pound test. That's typically the rule of thumb. Lake Elsinore, do not fish Lake Elsinore with nothing less than 6-pound test line. And there's a reason for that. Everything in this lake will hit this jig. The bass, the crappie, the bluegill, the carp even, largemouth bass, wipers, which we know we got in. I've caught wipers in this lake almost 20 pounds. Yeah, the first donkey, some 12, 13 years ago, 20-pound wipers. Right now, they're catching them in the 14 to 16 inch range, but they get up to 20 pounds. But when one of those white bass hits your line and you got your drag tight, this is what it's gonna sound like when one of those wipers hits your line. You know it immediately. That's exactly what it's gonna sound like. And he ain't gonna stop. Feel me up? Hey, the hooks work. But 6-pound test for panfish and basically anything. But this is the panfish rod. Next thing is largemouth bass. Largemouth bass, we have staying water in Lake Elsinore. If you're a bass fisherman or you're learning to like bass fisherman where you want to get the kid out there, which I highly advise, bring your kids out there. If you want something to just have them throwing out there and reeling back, because most kids, even me at 4 years old, when I went out there, you couldn't keep me from it. You got to throw it out there and leave it, son. So you got to throw it out there and leave it. No, but bass fishing, and that's considered light tackle. If you want to go to the store and buy yourself some ultralight, that's what you're going to be looking for, ultralight spinning. This is my bass stick. This is called a bait caster. And you use these for bass that pretty much, you want something with a little strength in it. You know, so when that bass hits it, you can pull them out of any structure or anything like that and then fight them. But like the same thing, the most important thing is this drag. See how that's really tight? Last time I used this, I was in the ocean, fishing for spotted bass, and they're down the structure. And you gotta have that drag kind of tight. But that's about all you need right there. Bass fishing in Lake Elsinore. You can, I say use something called a reaction bait. A spinner bait, this is called a spinner bait. And basically when you're reeling this, these blades behind it, they're flashing. And it's mimicking or giving the sound or the vibration of a school of fish. And because we have stained waters here, most of the bass in Lake Elsinore, they strike by movement. A lot of times they don't know what they're hitting, but they know the sound that the bait makes. And so when something goes past and it's, oh, that sounds like a wounded bait fish, they'll hit it. And also this color, yellow and white, anything with white is good for Lake Elsinore in the stained water. But basically you just throw this out as far as you can throw it, typically along the shoreline, horizontal, not straight out. But just think about this, anytime I'm fishing for crappie, with the exception of catfish, crappie, bass, bluegill, anything. If you throw straight out, you only give yourself this much window of catching a fish. But if you throw straight down the shoreline in 3 to 5 foot range, now you got a whole corridor of strike zone that you can potentially get bit. Does that make sense? You know, so think about that when you're out there fishing. You want to be in the right zone. You know, but so this coming through the water and this just fluttering, bass is gonna hit it, and you ain't gonna get that little kink. When you're reeling through the water, that rod is just gonna go zoom. Just like you got caught a rag in the water, and then that rag is gonna take out running. And that's why I love fishing reaction baits, because you just reeling, all of a sudden, it's like you're just stuck and you know it's a fish. Like I said, the spinner bait is good for Lake Elsinore.
Still 6-pound line?
With the bass fishing, I would jump up to 8 to 15 pound test. Minimum. And if you look at my line here, you see that green? And you see that as white? This is braided line. You know, as you get more, and you don't have to use this, but as you get more advanced into fishing, you come to find out braided line has almost 3 times the regular strength as this line and probably half the diameter. So that means we can put more line on our reel, and then we just tie on what is called a top shot, which is either fluorocarbon line or monofilament line as a leader. But the fish will see this. They'll see this line here, but they won't see this little clear part attached to it. But we maximize our line capacity and our strength by using braid. And this is something that really became pretty prevalent, let's say, the last 8 to 10 years.
Oh, yeah.
When guys started using braid, when they figured out they can get a lot more line on your reel and double your power. You know, when I'm ocean fishing, everything, all my reels have braid and then a top shot.
And the braid you don't have to replace as often as mono.
Yes.
Braid will last, I got reels that I keep on for a year until it gets all ragged looking, I don't change it out.
Yeah, if there is a downside, braid doesn't sink as well as this. But when you're throwing reaction bait, you don't care if it sinks. The weight of this lure is going to pull it down, and basically you're just reeling through the water. But so you got spinner baits, and these are crankbaits. You see these all in Walmarts and all of them. You say, oh, they don't catch fish. They catch fish. And basically, this is in the crawdad pattern, which is good for Lake Elsinore, because we do have crawdad. But basically what this does, and remember, you don't want to throw out deep. They come in different strike zones. So this one is a 1 to 5 foot diver. They make them from 3 to 7 foot divers, meaning that's how deep they'll go in the water if you reel that reel. But you want something in probably 3 to 5 foot deep diving range. And basically, this is going to hit the bottom and go through the water and hitting the dirt like this. It's going to be pounding. And any nearby fish is going to go, oh man, something's going on over there. They're going to come and investigate. And if you ever watch a fishing show, they will actually see the bass chasing this. You know, as it's going through the water like this, it hits them. You know, but a lot of times with these, once you stop, it starts to float up. You know, so you can crank this, you know, then just pause it, and it starts to hit up. And sometimes you get a thump, you know, or another time they just want to move it fast. But this is basically to cover a lot of water and create a strike in low visibility water, and sometimes even high visibility. But Lake Elsinore, this darker color here, the fish can see it. So you want something that's banging the bottom of the water, creating a noise and alerting the bass. You know, I suggest something in this is called a crawdad pattern, and the other one is good one for this lake. So we've heard that the most prominent bait fish in the lake, remember fishing, you want to kind of match the fish is the shad and the thread fin. These are the primary colors of those fish, black and silver. So you want something to kind of mimic, you know, the bait that they used to be hitting. You know, also something in a lot of these crankbaits and even rattle traps, if I just shake this, this is going through the water and making that noise. And the fish hear that, and it's like a dinner bell for them. And so that's for bass. And I could go a lot more extensive, but I'm giving you basically the basics right now. You know, this is for yourself if you're a bass fisherman. You know, I wouldn't recommend putting this on for a kid, because if you don't know what you're doing and you don't understand the structure that you're fishing in, these will get caught pretty rapidly, more so than a spinnerbait. Spinnerbait is almost a dummy lure. I can throw a spinnerbait through sticks, trees, stumps, rocks, and whatever, simply because they don't get stuck. You see how the hook is pointed up and back? So when it's going through the water, it's like this. It doesn't get caught if it was turned around that way. So basically, you know, I love throwing spinnerbait. And I've caught probably 80% of the bass in Lake Elsinore on a spinnerbait. But it's a lot of fun just going to the water's edge and just throwing and making casts. that's bass. And then I'm gonna go for bulldog of freshwater, catfish. This is a typical catfish rod. And this is considered a medium heavy rod, meaning that if you feel that the backbone right here is pretty stiff when you do it. That means that it's gonna take a big fish, you know, to, number one, bend it over, but it gives you a lot more pulling strength when you're fighting a big fish. Typical line test for catfish, I fish anything from 6 to 12 pound test. Me, I just do 6 pound tests simply because I know that I can fight a big fish. Average, I would say don't start with, if you're a novice, just start with 8 pound test line, 10 pound test. Catfish, they don't care about the line. You literally can throw 30 pound test line, but you're not gonna cast it that far. 8 to 10 pound test line. Size hooks, that's a pretty good hook, but it's either 1/0, 2/0, or 3/0, not a number 3. When you're talking hooks, the smaller hooks are numbered. When you're talking bigger hooks, you see 1/0. So get a 1/0, 2/0, or 3/0. And that's so you can put a big old piece of mackerel on the end of this, or even a night crawler. Hint, when you're fishing with night crawlers, do not take that night crawler and hook it through the top of him and wrap him around like this on your hook and then do that. No, start from his butt or his head, whichever one you want to call it, is what it is. And feather him up like this and run him all the way up to here. Just run that hook all the way up through there into where he's hanging off the back end like this. Because what's going to happen when you throw this out there, that tail is going to be under the water doing like this the whole time, you know. But if you just got it wrapped up in a glob, you know, yeah, your chances of the catfish catfish, they hit pretty much by spin. Although they smell through their whiskers, you know, and they can sense vibration. I've had catfish spinning, the crankbaits, the lures as well. But typically with the catfish, you just want to bait fish it and get all tangled up here. Well, you can attest to this. I don't know, sometimes I don't know how a line can get so tangled with so little movement. But you see this? This is, all you need is a hook and a weight. This is called a slip sinker. And there's a reason why I use a slip sinker. So most of us, you know, they'll come out, they'll tie your swivel, which is what you hook the weight onto, and then they'll put a hook. So all of that's connected together. The weight, the hook, the bait, all of it's connected together. Well, people don't think so, but a lot of catfish, they are kind of sensitive to resistance. Meaning that if they hit something and they just can't pull it away without feeling some weight other than the natural thing that they're hitting, sometimes they'll let it go. But also, it also puts them in a place where if they hit your bait and it's all connected and they swim away, it basically just pulls the bait right off of the hook because of that back weight. But with this right here, and I'll show you, just lay that on the ground, and if you grab that hook, did you grab that? Yeah. I'm not going to set that up. So you'll see that as he pulls that hook, the sinker doesn't move. And what that does, that allows the fish to pull line without feeling the weight of that sinker attached to it. Another key thing is when I catfish, most of the time, you can throw it out there, you're gonna sit. And I'll have a rod holder. I'll put that in the rod holder and I will flip this over. This is called your bell. You flip that over and just put it in what we call freeze fall. And so what's gonna happen is when that fish starts taking line, you'll see your line doing this. It might look just exactly like this and stop. The fish just picked up your bait, swam a little bit. Then you see it do this and stop. He's still just sitting there gnawing on it. And then after about 5 or 10 seconds, you'll see it doing this. He's got it and he's gone. Basically, put it in gear, rod tip down like this, and the minute that line tightens up straight, just lift up, and he's hooked. It's that simple. You don't have to sit there and come up with a fish head with no body. These are all, the things I'm telling you are all things that I've done in my life. I'm trying to give you tips that's gonna, number one, allow you to catch fish, but number two, catch them and land them. Yeah, and a lot of times fishing, it isn't just about landing a fish. A lot of times, when I go with my sons, which both my sons, crazy fishermen right now, I've taken them out fishing. Nick at age 2 and Seth at age 6. A lot of you in this room know my sons, particularly my oldest son, Nicholas. And when I tell you that the kid is phenomenal, not just because he's my son, the kid is phenomenal. At 21 right now, he's going to Mexico. He just got back from a Mexico trip, 4 days, just him and a couple of his buddies, fish. But I've never had any problems out of him. I mean, he's just a solid kid. Me, I wasn't, no. I fished at a young age, this, that, and the other, but I was also one of those kids where everybody else was, off doing a crazy thing. No, I'm down in the local pond, creek, whatever, with a fishing pole. I mean, I'm from Virginia. We used to walk in creeks and catch snapping turtles and catch muskrats and all that stuff. I strapped myself on a fishing pier doing Hurricane Gloria back in the 80s. That's it. But the whole point that I'm trying to make is if you have younger kids, teenagers, grandmom, grandpa, get them out there. Get them out there, just sit on the water. Some of the best things of fishing is just sit next to a buddy, out there casting and just talking about life. We turn our phones off. Turn them off and we just enjoy the moment. But that's what fishing is to me, and Lake Elsinore has a lot of that to offer. You can see by the great shoreline that we have out here. You can put a lawn chair up anywhere on this facility. There's also another great fishing beach on the west side where you're pretty much just going to catch carp. But here at Launch Point, pretty much this whole northern corridor, you're going to catch every species that's listed on this lake. But with these wipers in here, I'm telling you, bring your kids down now. It is a blast, and they're catching these wipers like, you throw anything out there. Reaction bait, a night crawler, a mealworm, a crappie jig. They're catching them like no tomorrow. And now is no better time to bring either yourself, your friends, or your kids out to come fishing on Lake Elsinore. With that, that's going to conclude my presentation.
If anybody is going to go fishing, come and talk to this man. He knows. Definitely. That was very good. My name is Chuck Moreno. I think we're that, also known as Scare Tactic sometimes. But I'm in a bass club in Canyon Lake. Been there for quite some time. I love bass fishing, and that's what I'm going to show you. So, okay. Currently, there's a lot of pressure on Canyon Lake and a lot of lakes in the region. A lot of it's due to COVID, a lot of it's due to just population in general. I have two methods here, and these are tried and true from way back in the day. I've been fishing since I was 1 year old, and I have a picture to prove it. This method right here is called split shot, okay? So if you go to a lake that's pressured, there's a lot of people there, a lot of people fishing, you take a split shot, okay, and you put it on your line. Then you take either a 2-aught or a 3-aught hook, okay, and you can use a worm, you can use a grub, something like that. You cast this out, and you just basically slowly drag it back on the bottom of the lake. And what's going to happen is you're going to get hammered. They're going to just grab it, and you're going to be on. This method is an old school method, been around for many, many, many years, and it's super tough. The challenge here today, I was told I had 10 minutes to talk about fishing. I could probably do it for days. That's how much beer we got. But hand, I have to use a microphone, which I like to talk with 2 hands, and I'm not Italian. So, anyways, so this is one method. It's called split shot. And you can also use a night crawler on here or some other type of bait, okay? But worms, you know, plastic worms, grubs, that kind of stuff, this will catch you fish any month of the year, winter, summer, it doesn't matter. Second.
For those of you who don't know, a split shot is a little weight. It has a slit at the middle. And you just slide it over your line and then you squeeze it or compress it.
Crimp it on.
Yes.
Yep. Second true, tried and true method. Okay, I'm giving you guys something. These are total basics. They call this a drop shot. You put the weight at the bottom, you put the hook up at the top here. Okay. This currently is wacky bait. Okay, so you cast this out, you know, maybe close to a tree, close to a structure, whatever, and you just shake it, and the darn thing shakes, and the bass gets mad and he eats it. You know, it's very, very simple. I've won plenty of tournaments doing this. I've caught some large fish doing this. I think the biggest one I've caught doing this is 7 1/4. But I've had some friends that have caught 10 pounders using this method. Called drop shot. So you can also take this and you can hook it about, you know, just the old standard. So it just looks like an old radio worm that's hanging there. But I currently like to use a wacky rig. It seems to get more bites. You can use a night crawler on this if you know, you don't feel the confidence with plastic worms. Let's see.
Hey John, what size line?
I use the 8-pound test mostly for bass. It's a medium light, I guess. Then I use 10-pound. I use like crankbaits and the more reaction kind of stuff. I do want to say one thing. I've never been there to the launch point, and it's absolutely beautiful. Whoever is responsible for all this, thank you very much. My wife stayed at the Retros not too long ago with her friends and had a great time ever. But I pulled in here and I went, wow, I go to Kamal all the time. And, you know, I guess I'm not paying attention. This is a beautiful place over here. Thank you to whoever made that happen. Let's see, what else do we want to know? Okay, this morning I went out for about 15 minutes. I do it often. Wake up early, you know, the family's up, everybody's up. I'll just run out and go fishing at one of the parks in Canyon Lake for 10 or 15 minutes. This morning I caught 6 fish in about 15, 20 minutes. I mean, it was bam, bam, bam. And I caught all these fish. I'll show you a secret that I use all the time. And a lot of guys don't use this. A lot of people are kind of afraid of it. And it's called a top water. It's a pod. Okay? This goat, you cast this out, it hits the water, lays flat on the water, and you let the rings kind of dissipate, and then you just go bloop, bloop, and the fish just hammer. I hooked one about a week ago or so, and it had to be 6, 7 pounds, and I ended up losing that one. But like this morning, I caught 6, and they were very small fish. They were like 1 1/2, 2 pounders over at Canyon Lake. As a bass fisherman, and as my bass club goes, we literally hate that. We think it's polluting them. But the facts are on the table. That's not true, because it took about 21 pounds to win this last tournament, this last Saturday, and that whole week we got hammered by the algae. So, you know, maybe the algae's, you know, it's a good thing. I know that there's, everybody's worried that it sucks all the stuff to the bottom, what's happening to the bottom. But the bass fishing is damn good over there at Canyon Lake. The tournament prior to that.
Hold on a second.
Oops.
It's stupid, folks.
Yeah.
Stupid good. It's stupid good.
Yeah, they eat a lot of stuff. The tournament prior to that, the month before, it took 33 pounds to win the tournament, which is, and I think the second place guys had a 10, and they didn't even win. So the 21-pound limit on Saturday, they had a 7.5. So that was a nice fish too. My biggest fish personally out of Canyon Lake, I've caught 3 of them, 7 1/4. Nothing ever bigger. I've never got a 10-pounder. Anyways, another method for fishing is the Senko. This is, you want to say stupid fishing? It's really simple fishing. You put a hook on your line. I use 8 or 10-pound test, and you just pin it in the middle, wacky rig, and you just cast it out there and let it sink, and just watch your line. And they eat this stuff like it's nobody's business. This is called a Senko, and this is a 5-inch Senko. And we also throw things called icas, and they look like a little squid. They fall vertical. It's real nice. But you know, there's so many lures out there, especially in the year 2022. My gosh, it used to be back in the day you could just do using a worm or a topwater plug or a crank or a jig. Now it's, oh my gosh, I would like to brought the whole pack of them. I will tell you, they will eat the swim bait quite often, and this is I think this is an 8-inch, and this is, they eat this, and nice fish too. You get a lot of guys catch it. This is called a Huddleston. Okay? It looks like a trout, but they don't care. They'll just eat it. Okay? It's got very good tail action. The hook is hidden right there. See that? Yeah. It's called a Huddleston, yeah. And they make them in all the different colors and all that good stuff because us fishermen like to buy tons of baits. There's, when we talked about crankbaits, we use bigger ones too, I use some that go down to 29 feet on some of the points and that kind of stuff. I will be honest, I caught a ton of fish on crankbaits in Canyon Lake. I only ate a ton. And I've had some friends, I caught some big catfish, 10-pound catfish on crankbaits. Had a friend caught a 25-pound catfish on a crankbait. Let's see. Kind of showing you some of the lures. Okay, this is called a wrap. And this one is called, I think this one's nicknamed morning wood or something to that effect. And it's made out of wood, and it's for the morning. And you throw it out there. And this is just a double jointed. They have triple jointed ones that are a lot larger. And the explosive bites that you see on this end hook, oh my gosh. Yeah, it really is crazy, the old fishing thing. Okay, I'm gonna go for more shocking off here. So, as fishermen, we love to buy expensive baits and that kind of stuff. And, just insanely crazy looking baits. This is a bluegill. This is called a Hiroshima. And it's kind of expensive. I won't even tell you how much it costs, but my wife might find out. Let's see. And then, let's see what else we got. So, and if you want to get really crazy in the spring, we can throw this topwater bait, and the bass will eat it. You'll get a 2 or 3 pounder that'll try to eat this thing. I swear to you, it's so weird. The bass are the most aggressive fish in the world. I got some really great videos where a monster bass is eating a topwater lure, and I watched it. The hookup ratio on topwater is, I'm gonna go about 75%. I feel. I do lose some after I hook them. A lot of times they come up and swat at it and try to kill it. They're not trying to eat it. They want to kill it first. And I miss a lot of bites. Quick story. In 2000, I met a girlfriend, and she started fishing with me. And it was pretty cool. I'm a single man. I did a lot of fishing, and I met this woman. And she liked going fishing with me. I'm like, dang, man, I feel like I'm in heaven. One that goes fishing with me. So we fished tournaments and did all this good stuff out there. And one day I decided that I was going to marry her. So what I did, we were fishing. I took a ring, and I'll tie one knot on one hook, and I'll fish the dang thing all day. Right? I grabbed that ring, and I tied about 10 knots on this thing. Okay, I put it on the drop shot rig. And I was going, oh jeez, I get stuck in the rocks on and I cast out. It was in the stages of her. She was a little impatient, so she got impatient holding that. I said, well, hold this one. So I'm like, whatever, I'm watching. And all of a sudden, she got impatient, so she had to reel that one out. And I put the ring on the fishing rod. Anyways, I want to cry over there. Now I'm still married to that woman. This year will be 20 years. And she fished with me a ton. We went to El Salto together, and all that good stuff. I could go on and on. We could talk fishing all day. If any of the scientists, the guys that are into the, the biologists and all that, if you ever really want to know real-time information about the lake and what's happening, talk to the bass fishermen or the fishermen in general. There's guys out 24/7, 7 days a week. There's a lot of retired guys in Canyon Lake. I'm self-employed, so I get to go a little bit here and there, and I'm out there quite often. We have a great fishery there, and I feel super blessed where we live and all that good stuff. And I know you're gonna cut us off because we only got 10 minutes. But last but not least, September 17th is the Kids Derby at Canyon Lake. The Bassmasters put it on every year. It's all free. You don't have to live there. If you get called in, if you want to fish Canyon Lake, make friends with somebody who lives there, and they will take you fishing. And last but not least, take the kids fishing, because it doesn't matter if you catch fish or not. If you take the kids fishing, whether they're your kids, the neighbor kids, your nieces, nephews, grandkids, whatever, take the kids fishing, because that's what matters. It really does. So anyways, thank you very much. I feel honored.